everybody. I'm Stacy with girlsinthestacks.com, and today I have Carolee Dean with me, author of Take Me There. This is such an emotional read for me. It's intense, but at the same time as being intense, I think it's grounded in truth and, most importantly, hope. And really a story of a boy that's coming of age and trying to really find himself. And it just really stuck with me, and so I really enjoyed it. So,
well, I'm really glad you did.
Well, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about what prompted you to write this story? Did your career as a reading specialist have any play a part of that?
Well, I'm a speech pathologist.
Okay.
So I do work with a lot of students with reading disabilities, although I'm not a reading teacher. But when I was in graduate school, one of my professors said to us that 80% of all people in prison have learning disabilities, and that's one of those statistics that just is like a knife through the heart. Like, what are we doing wrong as a culture? What are we doing wrong as a society? And then when I did become a speech pathologist and started working in the public schools, I had a lot of kids with parents in prison, and I saw how that impacted their lives, and I saw how those kids struggled. And we also have a poet in New Mexico. His name is Jimmy Santiago Baca. He came to one of the schools where I work, and he said that there are prison systems that base the size of their prisons on the literacy rates of the surrounding area. And that was another one of those moments that just felt like, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong as a society that we're not educating these kids? And what do you do if you can't read? Where do you go from there?
Yeah, that's in the book. How did you prepare for this story? I know now where you got those two facts from. Can you tell us a little bit about the Walls visit that you had, and how was that?
That was really remarkable. Jim Willett, who was a former warden at the Walls unit, I emailed him, and he used to be the prison warden who oversaw all the death row executions at the Walls. And his story is really amazing. He wrote a book called Warden, where he talks about his experiences, because when he started his job, he was not overseeing the convictions that had been considered unconstitutional, but then when executions came back in, that was part of his job. So he sent me all sorts of photos and just gave me lots of information, sent me his book. I went and met with him. I went out and looked at the prison, didn't go inside, but went to the prison museum where he works and had lengthy talks with him about his job and his experiences.
Did he tell you lots of stories about some of the inmates? And
he has a lot of that in his book about individual inmates. And there were so many interesting stories that he told me that I got so many great ideas for new books. For instance, one of the things that was the most interesting, it's not in my book, but that I thought would make a really cool book, is that they used to have prison trustees who would come out of the prison on a daily basis and work in the community. They would be inmates, but they would go and they would work in the community. And he talked about how, I think it was his son, befriended one of these inmates, and, had a lot of interactions with him. And I thought that was really fascinating. And of course, the whole prison rodeo, that used to be such a big thing down in Huntsville. They don't do anymore, but that was really
I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah, they used to have big stars come and perform, and the prison inmates would actually go and perform in the rodeo.
Wow. You mentioned Santiago Baca.
Yes.
Okay, so he's a poet, and you have a lot of poetry in the book, and you even dedicated, your book to people with poetry. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is that makes you draws you to poetry, and why you've included it in the book?
I think poetry is just very simple and short and encapsulates thoughts and ideas and really kind of goes to the heart of what you want to say. Working with kids, I work with a lot of kids that have learning disabilities, that have difficulty reading and difficulty writing, and I use poetry in a lot of my work with them because you can teach a short form of writing that's not as intimidating as a story or a longer piece of fiction.
Right, and I can so relate to that right now and understand that. This book is really kind of sad at times, but yet above all, like I said earlier, it's about hope and faith intermingled in that. What message do you want to get your reader? your readers to come from after they read this book? Is there a message, or is it just out there for them, you know, it is what it is, or do you have a message you're sending?
That's a tricky question because I think that people should sort of get their own message. And if I tell you what my message is, because I do have a definite message, but if I tell you what mine is, then you may not take away what you need to take away from it.
Right.
So yes, I have a message, and there is a line in the book that states that message, but I'm a little disinclined to say what it is because I think a reader should interpret it, you know, especially a teenager who's reading it. If I say this is what it is, they might say, "Oh, I was wrong," and you're not wrong.
Right.
You're not wrong. Whatever message you do. Well, I could ask you, what do you think? You've read it.
I think it's about hope and faith, and hope above all, because if there's no hope, what kind of life will we have?
Yeah.
That's a great answer. And I kind of knew you were going to say that. Well, can you tell us what you're currently working on? Anything in the process going on in the brain, or writing something?
I actually just finished writing a novel in verse. The whole novel is poetry.
Wow. Who is that author that does that? Is it Lori Halse Anderson? Does that too? Yeah, okay. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
How long is that?
I don't know.
Okay.
You mean how many pages?
Like how many words? How many
Oh,
pages?
it's about 200 pages in my
in your
computer,
document.
but I
Okay.
think it would be a lot longer to
Okay.
write out because I think usually when you take poetry and divide it across the page,
Right.
it could be a lot longer than
Okay.
that.
Can you tell us what it's about, or is it a secret?
It's supernatural.
Supernatural.
I can tell you, it's
Okay.
called No Way Out. At least that's what the title is right now.
Okay.
And it's basically about this hallway on this school where all the people who have committed suicide, where their souls go.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So I don't want to say anything more than that because there are a lot of twists and turns in the story. So, and you don't really know what's going on a lot of the story.
Okay. We'll have to wait. Look out for that. Okay, now are some really fun questions that we want you to answer. They're rapid fire. Real quick.
I have to think fast.
Well, salty or sweet?
Salty or sweet? Both.
Both. Cook at home, take out, or dinner out?
Take out.
Do you say pop, soda, or Coke? And this will tell you what part of the country you're from.
Soda.
Soda. We say Coke down here. Thesaurus or dictionary?
Thesaurus.
Country, hip hop, rock, or classical? Or your own?
Oh, you know, I hate to say it, but I really am starting to like hip hop. My kids listen
It's
to
the
hip hop
beat.
all
I like
the
the
time. I
beat.
like the rhythm.
The rhythm, the beat, yeah.
Yeah.
Star Wars, Harry Potter, or Lord of the Rings?
Star Wars. Definitely Star Wars.
Okay. Heard that.
Is there a personality test that goes along with
No,
this?
there's no personality test. We're not like calculating.
Oh no, I thought maybe these answers led me to.
That would have been fun. That would have been, we would have been smart if we would have done that.
That
But
would
no.
have been a great idea.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction, but I like fiction that feels like nonfiction. Feels really real.
Texting, emailing, or talking on the phone?
Texting.
Texting, okay. So when I sent you that text earlier, that was okay.
That was fine. That was good.
Truth or dare?
Truth.
Okay. And werewolf or vampire?
Werewolf. Definitely werewolf.
Well, thank you so much, Carolee, for taking the time to talk to us today. And we really enjoyed Take Me There, and everybody should go out and buy a copy today and read it. Thank you. And with that, we'll see you in the stacks. Bye.
Thank you.